We good? When you're ready, sir.
Okay, back in 2007, 2008, America faced what we call the Great Recession. And back then, that not only affected us, but globally affected several other nations that were involved with our economy. And it also led to deep impacts to them as well. So you should listen to me because what's happening today in Greece is not only self-contained in Greece and Europe, but also can easily impact us here in the United States. So according to Henry Farrell, associate professor in political science, in his journal that he wrote, academic journal that he wrote, if Greece were to default on their debts, that would lead to a vicious circle that would not only hurt European nations, but also America. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about three things. The first being how Greece ended up in their bailout in the first place. What led to their crisis. Secondly, I will talk about the aftermath of the bailout plans that have been put in place, and then lastly, what has affected the U.S. So far, and how it will continue to impact America moving forward. So, like I said, the first thing we're going to talk about is how Greece ended up in the crisis. Before they joined the Eurozone, which is all the countries that use the euro, Greece had its own currency, and they were not allowed to join the Eurozone because their GDP to debt ratio did not match the required limit. So basically, in 2001, they finally did join the Eurozone and adopted the euro as their currency. And they enjoyed about 3 years of increasing economic growth and success. This, however, started to decline, and it later came out to light that in 2001, when they had adopted the euro, they had actually not met the required GDP to debt ratio. Basically, they shouldn't have been allowed to adopt the euro at that time. Moving forward past around 2004, right when they started to host their Olympics in Greece, their government spending started to increase to the point where their percentage of debt to their GDP was increasing at a rapid pace beyond any other European nation. So the normal GDP to debt ratio percent is about 3%, and at the time in 2010, their debt to GDP ratio was 12%, so about 4 times more than most European nations. This was all brought on by lots of government spending and really large benefits for public workers, and really great Social Security, and a higher average wage salary for public employees, which all was great at the time, but eventually led to large debts and basically the government running out of money to fund these programs. So when they ran out of money, they started to take loans, and these loans began to be packaged and sold just similar to the subprime mortgages in the U.S. in 2007-2008. They were packaged and sold and to creditors, and now all of these loans are basically held by several banks in many European nations. And then instead of using these loans to help their economy and then cut back, instead their spending stayed basically the same and forced Greece into a near defaulting on all the creditors. So the European European Central Bank and the European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund began to step in and basically supply them with money. So as you can see, the debt percentage is basically always higher. And you can see before they joined in 2001, they were already above that, and they shouldn't have been allowed into to adopt the euro, but that was not found out until later. So like I said, the European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund stepped in and basically offered them bailout packages to help their economy. But in return, they were given austerity measures which would lead them into where they are now. So the second thing we'll talk about is now that they've taken the bailout packages from these European nations, what their current state is. So now that they've received the money, these austerity measures that have been put in place are starting to really hurt them, because they're cut down dramatically on government spending, which has led to several social and health programs being cut drastically. Their healthcare system is actually being hurt a lot right now. And also the high wages that public employees were enjoying are now have been cut by about 50%. And also that's for those of the employees who actually have been able to keep their jobs. Most of their employees have been unemployed, and especially the most impacted group, as you can see, is the youth. Right now, 44% that are seeking for that job, the unemployment has hurt them the most, which is causing a lot of protests and riots in Greece, because basically the youth are blaming the government for not for them not being able to find a job. Now I'm going to talk about America and the impact that all of this has had on us. Basically, now at this point, the Federal Reserve has a line of credit has made a line of credit available to Greece. It's not a lot of money at this point, because America is not the largest, it doesn't hold the largest stake in Greece at this point for these debts. But they've already put the plans in place to expand this line of credit if Greece requires it. Basically, right now, Greece, because of the austerity measures, like I said, they are threatening to not accept any more bailouts and rather just abandon the euro altogether and return to their previous currency, which would leave all the creditors that they owe money to with nothing. This basically puts other European nations that are struggling right now, such as Italy and Spain, that also will have a lot of debt in jeopardy, because no more investors are willing to look into those nations because of the risk that they too will back out of the euro and leave the creditors with nothing. So America is impacted by this, because basically, if they back out of the euro and the euro drops, this significantly decreases the relationship between the dollar and the euro, and all of the U.S. exports that we are sending to European nations will be much more expensive. Much more expensive than they are currently now, and will not be able to be purchased by Europeans. So basically, I believe about 2 years ago, Obama wanted to double the amount of exports that America is currently sending to European nations. That would significantly damper that plan. So today, I'll talk to you guys about the Greek crisis, why they needed a bailout, how they are now that they've accepted several bailout plans, and how America is being impacted and can be impacted moving forward by this crisis. And I hope that just kind of makes you guys more aware of how much impact another nation's economy has